Hey, what's going on, guys? This Saturday is UFC Fight Night, Louisville. Cannonier versus Nassourdine Imavov, and this is going to be my full card predictions. And while it's not the greatest Fight Night card ever, it's not a horrible Apex Fight Night card. So we're going to go through every single fight on the card, and I'm going to give you a quick breakdown and prediction. Starting off with the very first fight of the night, we have Puja Tomar versus Rayanne Amanda. Honestly, I watched some of Tamar's fights outside the UFC. She didn't look very good. She looked so unrefined and amateurish. She's 8-4 overall. I just, I'm not looking at what I saw. She's kind of wild on the feet. She's not great in the clinch. She does have decent cardio. I believe in her last fight was like a corner stop. Yeah, it was a corner stoppage. She didn't even do that much damage to the other girl. I guess the girl was just tired or whatever. But listen to the records of the girl she's fighting. 8-2, 6-8, 2-1, 0-0, and then she lost to a girl who's 3-0, but that was Stamp Fairtex, so not a horrible loss there. Then you have Rayanne Amanda, who made her UFC debut against Alencar in her last fight, lost via split decision. I actually think I scored the fight for Rayanne Amanda, but I didn't think she looked that horrible. She hasn't fought the best opposition either, 4-0, 6-3, 5-5. Look, I'm going with Rayanne Amanda. I think she's just more refined. I think she's the better striker. I think she has decent enough grappling. When I'm watching Tomar, I see a total amateur. Like they plucked her off the couch and just threw her in the cage. Rayanne Amanda actually looked decent on the feet, looked decent with her grappling. I'm going to go Rayanne Amanda to get it done via decision. I'm going to say 30-27 decision, but who knows with these super low-level women's MMA fights. Moving up on the card, we have Cody Stamann versus Taylor Lapilus. I absolutely love this matchup. This is actually a pretty solid prelim. I know Lapilus is coming off that loss against Farid Basharat, but I thought it was still a decent performance from him. He just got out-grappled. Lapilus, primarily a striker. Cody Stamann's just one of those wrestle boxers who's been around forever, coming off a loss against Douglas Silva de Andrade, where you had that moment where he got a takedown, and then they stood him up, I believe because of a fence grab from Andrade. I can't remember exactly what it was, even though I just watched this the other day. But look, I'm looking at this matchup. Stamann doesn't mix in his grappling nearly enough. He's not some amazing, high-level grappler. And I'm looking at Lapilus. I know he's had some struggles, but he was scrambling back to his feet against Farid Basharat. So I'm going to go Taylor Lapilus to get it done in this fight. But Cody Stamann's pretty durable, in his last 3 losses. He only has 1 loss via finish, which was submission against Said Nurmagomedov. And I am a little bit worried about it considering Cody Stamann's actually fought some decent competition. I know Eddie Wineland isn't that good, but look, a loss to Said Nurmagomedov, loss to Moura, not horrible losses. And he does have decent power on the feet. So Stamann could catch him. I just think Lapilus is leaps and bounds better on the feet. I think Stamann will have to mix in the grappling, and I don't think he's going to find a whole lot of success with it. And even if he does find takedowns, he's just not the type of guy that goes out there and takes a guy down and just mauls him on the ground and controls him. I think Lapilus, from what he showed in his last few fights, he'll be able to work his way back to his feet and get right back to the striking. And Stamann doesn't have amazing ground and pound either. So I'm going to go Lapilus. I'm going to pick him via decision. Cody Stamann's never been TKO'd. Lapilus isn't like a crazy finisher. So I'm going to go Lapilus via decision. Moving up on the card, another low-level women's MMA fight. We have Eduarda Moura versus Denise Gomes. This fight I actually struggled with because I think they're both horrible. Moura coming off of the win over Montserrat Ruiz, which, what does that really mean? Then Dana White's Contender Series. You have Denise Gomes, who lost to Angela Hill in her last fight. No real shame in that. Beat Yasmin Howergy, which is a decent win. Beat Bruno Brazil, which is okay. Lost to Luma Bumi. Look, it's grappler versus striker. Eduarda Moura is nothing but a grappler. Her striking is horrible. She just wants to grapple. And Gomes has big power on the feet and decent striking, and she's kind of strong, and she has decent jiu-jitsu, so it makes me want to pick Denise Gomes. But I'm watching back that Luma fight, seeing her get out-grappled. I'm watching back the Angela Hill fight, seeing her get out-grappled. And I know these are much better fighters than Moura, but Moura has pretty good grappling. She showed pretty decent grappling, and also she's a finisher as well. She has 9 out of 10 via finish. So seeing Denise Gomes get out-grappled, I think Denise Gomes is going to have to find a KO. Yasmin Howergy, I think, came in super confident, was throwing on the feet, got clipped, and finished. I think Moura knows what she has to do. She has to go out and just grapple nonstop. I think that's what she'll do. I'm going to pick Eduarda Moura. Am I going to pick her via finish? I'm going to pick her to get it done. I'm going to say she's going to TKO Denise Gomes. Second round TKO, ground and pound. Denise Gomes gets exhausted from trying to scramble out. Late second round, ground and pound TKO for Moura. Not super confident in that. Probably I could lean Moura via decision as well, but I'm picking Moura in this one. I feel like I typically pick grappler over striker, and Denise Gomes just doesn't have good takedown defense. Just doesn't have good takedown defense. She can get taken down in control. I think Moura will be able to take her down controller and eventually find a finish in the second round via ground and pound. Moving up on the card, we have Daniel Marcos versus John Castañeda. It's actually a really good fight. John Castañeda, I went back and watched a few fights of his recently. Dude is a straight up dog. I swear every single fight that he's in is a straight up war. He's coming off a win over Kyung Ho Kong. Before that, beat Muin Gafarov. Before that, lost to Daniel Santos. Not really, no shame in that too much. Before that, beat Miles John. Before that, okay, Eddie Wineland. Marcos coming off that no contest against Arichi Lang, where Marcos was clearly winning, boxing him up, and then there was 2 groin shots, and then Arichi Lang couldn't continue. Before that, a split decision win over Davey Grant, kind of controversial. Who am I going to pick in this one? There's a bunch of fights on this card that's kind of, pick them. John Castañeda, super aggressive, volume striker. Daniel Marcos, more measured, more technical. I feel like a little bit more well-rounded as well. Castañeda will mix in his grappling, but it's not particularly excellent. Look, I'm going to go Daniel Marcos via decision. I think he's a little bit cleaner on the feet. I think his grappling will be good enough to stuff the takedowns. And just when you have like a wild, crazy guy like John Castañeda, and you have a guy that's pretty technical, a little bit patient, not super aggressive in Daniel Marcos, I just seen Daniel Marcos kind of cruise into a decision. I think if John Castañeda can make this a dogfight, he can win. But I don't see him making it a dogfight. I don't see him, I think Daniel Marcos will put on a patented performance where he's just kind of circling around the cage, pumping his jab, landing some decent kicks. Marcos is like, he's an unproven guy, but he's just like really solid and technical everywhere. He's not a guy that goes out there and looks super sloppy. And the fact that he's beaten Davey Grant, even though it was close, he doesn't really have any other great wins. And he's not much of a finisher, but, I think he gets it done against John Castañeda. I'm not going to pick him to finish him, but I'm going to go Daniel Marcos via decision. I'm going to say like a 29-28 decision. I could see Castañeda having a round, maybe the first round, but also Castañeda, so aggressive, so much volume, he tends to kind of slow down. He started to slow down in that Daniel Santos fight. So I'm going to go Daniel Marcos via decision. Moving up on the card, we have Andrea Lee versus Montana De La Rosa. Look, I'm going Andrea Lee. I'm not even going to talk about this fight too much. I know, Andrea Lee's on a 4-fight losing streak. Montana De La Rosa's on a 3-fight losing streak. But I think Andrea Lee's fought better opposition. You look at the fight she's lost. Miranda Maverick, decent fighter. Fight before that, Natalia Silva, surging kind of contender. Before that, Macy Barber. I thought she got robbed. She clearly beat Macy Barber, in my opinion. Look where Macy Barber is now. Before that, Viviane Araujo, at one point was a top-ranked flyweight. I got to go Andrea Lee. Montana De La Rosa, JJ Aldridge, Tatiana Suarez, Macy Barber. So decent opposition as well. Both of them are going to want to grapple. I could see Andrea Lee stuffing the takedowns on Montana De La Rosa. I could even see Andrea Lee having the advantage in the grappling. She did against Macy Barber, who's pretty strong. But I also think Andrea Lee, I think she's got better striking as well. So I'm going to pick Andrea Lee to get it done via decision. I think her, racist boyfriend Tony Kelly will be in the corner, maybe, trying to think of something to say, but he can't really say much about Montana De La Rosa because she's from the United States, I believe. Yeah, she's from Texas. So I don't know what kind of slurs Tony Kelly's going to come up with. He's going to be hard pressed to come up with any to say about Montana De La Rosa. But I'm going Andrea Lee via decision. Moving up on the card, we have Brad Katona versus Jesse Butler. Brad Katona is a decision machine. Okay. He's gritty. He's tough. He's coming off a loss against Garrett Armfield, which I think a lot of people were picking Brad Katona in that fight. I actually picked Garrett Armfield. I thought he was pretty fast, decent striker that would be able to outbox Brad Katona. Before that, beat Cody Gibson, hasn't aged that well. And, was on the Ultimate Fighter before that. Jesse Butler came in on short notice, got absolutely slaughtered by Jim Miller. And he's just not, I don't think he's all that good. I haven't seen a lot of tape of Jesse Butler, but I think Brad Katona, tough, pretty well-rounded, decent wrestling defense, decent wrestling offense, decent striking, gritty, durable, good stamina. I'm going Brad Katona in this fight. I think he gets it done. I wouldn't say, I'm looking at the odds right here on Tapology. It says -500 for Katona. I'm not that high on Katona at all, but Jesse Butler, I think he's kind of bottom of the barrel. I think he just got an opportunity in the UFC because the UFC needed a short notice replacement fighter. Got absolutely slaughtered by Jim Miller, but who knows? Maybe now with a full camp, he wants to make the best of his opportunity in the UFC. Maybe he gets it done against Katona, but I doubt it. I think Katona wins this fight. I think he kind of boxes him up on the feet, maybe mixes in the grappling a little bit, and I think Katona wins a decision, kind of cruises to a decision. He's a decision machine. Dude's a decision machine. I don't think he's ever had a TKO. I'm not looking at it right now. I don't think he's ever had a TKO. And I just don't, I think while Katona is really good / average everywhere, I think Jesse Butler is just not that good. That's why he wasn't in the UFC to begin with. So I'm going Katona via decision. Moving up on the card, we have Charles Radtke versus Carlos Prates. This is actually kind of a banger. Charles Radtke coming off that win over Gilbert Urbina, which I didn't expect. I thought Urbina was basically definitely going to win. He went out there and KO'd Urbina, and that left hook looked super crisp. But before that, fought Mike Mathetha. Looked horrible in that fight. Looked atrocious. Couldn't even get the grappling going against Mike Mathetha, who has horrible grappling. And to win this fight against Carlos Prates, he has to out-grapple him. Carlos Prates coming off that KO win over Trevin Giles, who I think is kind of, a middle-of-the-road fighter. I know he's kind of on a downslope now, and I know Prates kind of came back a little bit. I don't think Radtke's as good as Trevin Giles, okay? So I think Radtke's going to have to focus on his grappling here. I think Prates is going to be able to stuff the grappling, stuff the takedowns. You look at him 6'1" to 5'9", so you have a significant 4-inch height advantage, and then you have a 6-inch reach advantage for Prates. Muay Thai guy, nasty striking, nasty finisher, 16 out of 18 via finish. I don't trust his grappling 100%. I believe he was taken down on Dana White's Contender Series. I think Trevin Giles might have even taken him down, if I'm not mistaken. But I think with the height, the reach advantage, the striking advantage, I think Radtke's going to be outmatched on the feet. And I think Radtke also, we seen him getting his legs chopped. Even against Gilbert Urbina was getting his legs chopped a little bit. Mike Mathetha was landing decently on the feet. I think Prates is going to chew up that lead leg, box him up, stuff the takedowns, and win the fight. I'm going Carlos Prates. I'm going to say second round TKO. He knocks out Charles Radtke in the second round. Moving up on the card, the featured prelim, we have Thiago Moisés versus Ľudovít Klein. By the way, go back and watch Thiago Moisés versus Benoit Saint-Denis. The Paris crowd is incredible. It's the best crowd in MMA. While rewatching that, I realized this is the best crowd ever. It was so loud. It was so crazy. It was such an experience going back and rewatching that fight. He lost, obviously. But he actually had a little bit of success against Benoit Saint-Denis. He was landing a bit on the feet, even had a takedown, even though he wasn't able to control him. And since then, he beat up Mitch Ramirez on short notice, TKO'd him with leg kicks. Thiago Moisés, I think, has kind of been criminally underrated for a while. I know he's kind of like a BJJ specialist, but I feel like he's been improving in it with his hands. I know a win over Mitch Ramirez isn't much, but I think he's pretty solid. He's still only 29 years old. He's fought some decent opposition. I know he lost to Yoel Alvarez. He lost to Islam Makhachev, got finished by both those guys. But I think both those guys are really, really good. Now, Ľudovít Klein, gritty guy with good striking, mixes in his grappling quite a bit. Coming off a win over AJ Cunningham means absolutely nothing. AJ Cunningham came in on short notice. Man, that guy got slaughtered. Oh, it was a horrible fight to watch. Fight before that, beat Ignacio Bahamondes, out-grappled him a bit. Before that, it was a decision where he should have lost against Jai Herbert, but Jai Herbert got a point deducted. Before that, Mason Jones. Before that, Devontae Smith. Look, I'm going to pick Thiago Moisés. I think Ľudovít Klein can out-grapple like bad grapplers, guys who have really low-level grappling. But I think Moisés, with his grappling, with his BJJ, I think he'll be able to out-grapple Ľudovít Klein. And I think like some takedown attempts from Ľudovít Klein may end up with Thiago Moisés ending up on top with some scrambles and defending the takedown, maybe ended up in like a front headlock position and end up taking the back, something along those lines. And I think Moisés is good enough on the feet. Like, it's not like Klein's like absolutely filthy on the feet. He has some decent kicks. He has some decent power. But Thiago Moisés, I know he got finished by Benoit Saint-Denis, but he hung out with him for a round and a half and was in the pocket trading with Benoit Saint-Denis. If he can do that, I think he can weather kind of the storm of Ľudovít Klein, who's arguably losing or did lose to Jai Herbert, but got saved by a point deduction. I'm going to pick Moisés to get it done. I think Ľudovít Klein is going to, really look to mix in the grappling in this fight and pressure Moisés on the feet as well. And I think eventually he's going to get tired. I think he's going to get out-grappled. I think Moisés will just be cleaner on the ground with the transitions and scrambles. And I think Ľudovít Klein's going to get tired. I think coming the third round, Ľudovít Klein's going to be tired. I'm picking Thiago Moisés to get it done via third round submission. I'm going to say he gets a rear naked choke. I'm going to say he ends up on the back of Ľudovít Klein, finds a rear naked choke. Thiago Moisés, we know how good his grappling is. We know he's kind of like he was a grappling specialist. I think he's still getting better. And also, since his last loss, it's been 9 months since that brutal loss against Benoit Saint-Denis. He came back, kind of had a tune-up fight against Mitch Ramirez. I think he'll be in good shape to be able to get it done against Ľudovít Klein. So I'm picking Moisés to get it done via submission in the third round. Moving up on the card, the first fight on the main card, we have Punahele Soriano versus Miguel Baeza. Oh my God, who do you pick in this one? This is really a fight that's challenging to pick. You have Punahele Soriano. Got finished by Dustin Stoltzfus in his last fight, rear naked choke. Before that, got KO'd by Roman Khabibulov. Before that, beat Dolce Lungambula. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. Split decision against Nick Maximoff. Lost to Brendan Allen, which wasn't too bad. It was actually kind of competitive. But then you have Miguel Baeza, who's been out for over 2 years. Got KO'd by the dead corpse of Andre Fialho before he was a dead corpse. Got KO'd by Chaos Williams and lost to Santiago Ponzinibbio in the fight before that. So, Punahele Soriano lost 4 out of his last 5, and Miguel Baeza lost his last 3, 2 of them coming way of brutal KO. Look, the analysis for this fight is, I think Soriano has a way better chin. I think Soriano can take bigger shots on the chin. I think both guys are open to being hit. I think this is a striking matchup where no one's going to mix in the grappling. I think Miguel Baeza a little bit more technical on the feet. I think Miguel Baeza a little bit more, has a speed advantage on the feet. But ultimately, I think Soriano's chin will hold up. And I don't think Miguel Baeza's will. And also, 2 years off, ring rust, coming back from back-to-back KOs. I know, maybe his chin is kind of healed up a bit. But I'm going to pick Punahele Soriano to find a big shot on the feet, find a big left hand, and KO Miguel Baeza. I'm going to pick him to KO him in the first round. I can't pick him. I just can't pick Miguel Baeza. Long time off, back-to-back KOs. I think both guys will land on each other's chins, but I think Soriano will hold up better. Miguel Baeza, Soriano does get beat up to the body quite a bit. You look at his last few fights, the Stoltzfus fight, landing teeps nonstop, the Roman Khabibulov fight, landing nasty body kicks nonstop. So Soriano is kind of open to the body, but he's so tough, man. He's so tough. He's so durable. He's not a guy getting brutally chinned. And I think Baeza gets chinned in this one. So I'm going to go Punahele Soriano. I'm going to say left hand, brutal KO, mid-first round. Miguel Baeza's chin just doesn't hold up. And unfortunately for Miguel Baeza, he's 31 years old. Going to go on a 4-fight losing streak. He's done. His last win was 3.5 years ago against Takashi Sato. Before that, a win over Matt Brown. At least Punahele Soriano has a win, 2 years ago, or a little under 2 years ago against Dolce. So I'm going to go Punahele Soriano to get it done. First round KO. Just can't pick a guy off a long layoff in 2 back-to-back KO losses. Moving up on the card, we have Julian Marquez versus Zach Reese. Zach Reese literally got Batista bombed by Cody Bumditch in his last fight. His UFC debut, by the way, coming off of Dana White's Contender Series, in a fight that he struggled against Eli Aronoff. Struggled in that fight. Was getting beat up in that fight. Ended up getting an armbar. After he got, I believe, knocked down or taken down, ended up getting an armbar. But then comes into the UFC, gets a layup against Cody Bumditch, and literally gets Batista bombed in front of a hometown crowd, too. How do you recover from that? Mentally, I would have went into witness protection immediately. But you have Julian Marquez coming off a brutal destruction against Marc-Andre Barrios, coming off a brutal destruction against Gregory Rodriguez. His last win's 3 years ago against Sam Alvey. Damn, who do you pick in this matchup? Genuinely, who do you pick in this matchup? Look, Reese is tall and long. He's a finisher. He's 6-1. All 6 of his wins are via finish. He looks for submissions. He has decent power. He has a reach and height advantage, 2-inch height advantage, 5-inch reach advantage, 4-year youth advantage. Julian Marquez just kind of plots forward and throws combinations and doesn't have the best cardio either. I'm gonna go Zach Reese. It pains me to pick a guy that got Batista bombed by Cody Bumditch, and I swore to myself I wasn't picking him. But sometimes when I hold myself to that standard, I'm not picking him because of this. It ends up being wrong. So I'm going to pick Zach Reese. I'm going to pick him to get it done. I'm going to pick him via second round KO. I think Marquez just isn't clean enough on the feet, and he's kind of been the same for a while. He's 34 years old. I feel like he's plateaued, hasn't evolved much in the last few years, been around a while. Been in the UFC almost 6 years or over 6 years. I can't even see back far enough right now, the screen I'm looking at. So I'm going to pick Zach Reese. I think the UFC gave Zach Reese this fight as, look, you lose this one, you're not cut out for the UFC. I think that's what the UFC's thinking. So I could see Zach Reese finding the submission. I could see him hurting Marquez and finding the submission. I could see Marquez hurting him and then kind of getting sloppy looking for a finish and end up in a submission because Reese does have some slick submissions. So I'm going to pick Zach Reese to get it done. I'm going to say second round TKO, though. I'm going to say he hurts Marquez on the feet, follows him to the ground and pound TKO. Moving up on the card, Bruno Ferreira versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Bruno Ferreira is an absolute savage, man. He looks kind of small for middleweight, but man, he hits hard. He has true one-punch KO power. Coming off a brutal KO over Phil Hawes. Lost to Norsalt and Ruzaboyev, who stepped in on short notice. Before that, came in on short notice himself, Chin Gregory Rodriguez. You have Dustin Stoltzfus coming off the win over Punahele Soriano. I don't think that's that good of a win. Before that, lost to Abus Magomedov, which has aged terribly. Before that, beat Dwight Grant. Before that, lost to Gerald Meerschaert. Before that, lost to Rodolfo Vieira. Look, this is an easy fight to predict, in my opinion. Bruno Ferreira is going to go out there and run over Dustin Stoltzfus. I think he has good enough takedown defense. Stoltzfus is probably going to try to mix in the grappling. I think Stoltzfus is just going to try to keep Bruno Ferreira at bay with the teep kicks. Loves to use the teep kicks. Ferreira likes to pressure. You look at their overall, their height and reach. You have a 2-inch height advantage for Stoltzfus. You have a 3-inch reach advantage. I don't think that's going to be enough to keep Bruno Ferreira off him. I think Bruno Ferreira is going to pressure him badly, eat some teep kicks, but find some big bombs on the feet. I see Bruno Ferreira getting him out of there early. I'm going to pick Bruno Ferreira via first round KO. I think he just got caught, got clipped badly against Norsalt and Ruzaboyev. It was kind of weird how he came in on short notice, chinned Gregory Rodriguez. Then Norsalt came in on short notice, chinned him. And then he came back and got a win against Phil Hawes, who's getting chinned by everyone. So I'm going to go Bruno Ferreira. I'm going Bruno Ferreira to get it done. I think he KOs Dustin Stoltzfus brutally on the feet in the first round. Moving up on the card, we have Raul Rosas Jr. versus Ricky Turcios. I've broken down this fight so many times at this point. I think this is the third time I'm breaking it down for a full card prediction because the fight got canceled, then tentatively rescheduled, then canceled again, and now rescheduled here. I'm going Raul Rosas Jr. via second round submission. Ricky Turcios is a layup for Raul Rosas Jr., I believe. You look at his last fight against Kevin Navidad. He wins via split decision, was getting out-grappled there. You look at the fight against Eamon Zahabi, getting outstruck there. You look at the fight against Brady Highstand, wins via split decision there, was getting out-grappled in that fight quite a bit. Raul Rosas Jr. has excellent grappling. I know, he beat Terrence Mitchell, who's an absolute scrub in his last fight. But before that, dominated Christian Rodriguez in the first round. And that I don't want to elevate him off a loss, which I kind of am right now. But that loss has even aged well. Because if Raul doesn't gas, he out-grapples Christian Rodriguez, and we see how good Christian Rodriguez's defensive grappling is. We've seen it's aged quite well. Before that, destroys Jay Perrin, submits him there. Before that, Dana White's Contender Series. He's a little bit older. He's 19 years old. His striking has looked decent. He has some good power in his hands. Ricky Turcios is like a Family Dollar version of Tony Ferguson, and I'm not even talking prime Tony Ferguson. I'm talking washed up Tony Ferguson. Weird combinations on the feet where he doesn't move very technically and just kind of looks sloppy. I think Raul Rosas Jr. is going to march out there, throw a right hand, immediately shoot, change levels, look for a takedown, lightning fast, shoot through him, take him down, take his back, control him, beat him up. Maybe Turcios survives the first round. And then I'm going to pick Raul to get it done second round, rear naked choke. Takes him down early in the second round. Ricky Turcios is ready to quit. Raul's beating him up with ground and pound. I could see Raul getting a TKO via ground and pound as well. But I think Raul Rosas Jr. finds a rear naked choke in this fight, whether it's first round or second round. I think he gets it done. I'm picking Raul Rosas Jr.'s second round rear naked choke submission. Moving up on the card to the co-main event, we have Dominic Reyes versus Dustin Jacoby. I flirted with the idea. Of picking Dominic Reyes. I just can't do it. I can't do it. He's a dead body. KO'd by a jab against Ryan Spann. KO'd by a fucking jab against Ryan Spann. Before that, spinning back elbow KO'd against Yuri Prohaska. Took years off his life. Before that, KO'd by Jan Blachowicz. Before that, beaten by John Jones in an arguably robbery, a lot of people say. And since that John Jones fight, Dominic Reyes has been winless. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? After the John Jones fight, people were like, he's the champion. You know, he deserves the belt. You know, he got a vacant title shot when John Jones vacated. And now look where he's at. He's dead body. He's 34 years old. One of the worst chins in the UFC. And he's matched up with Dustin Jacoby, who's an excellent kickboxer. Long, rangy guy. He's 6'3", which is crazy because Dominic Reyes is 6'4", 76-inch reach. Similar reach with Dominic Reyes, actually an inch reach advantage for Dominic Reyes. Jacoby lost to Alonzo Menenfield in his last fight, but Menenfield has brutal one-punch KO power and hurt Jacoby. Before that, beat Kennedy and Zetchulu. Before that, lost to Azamat Mirzakhanov, but he mixed in the grappling. Before that, lost to Khalil Roundtree, arguably won that fight. Most people think he won that fight. Most people thought that he won that fight. I think if we could see even like 50%, 60%, I'm going to say 60% of old Dominic Reyes, he gets it done here. I don't think Dustin Jacoby's that good, especially at 36 years old. But I think some of these guys just develop an off button right on their chin, and then they never return to their same form, because now Dominic Reyes comes into this fight and he's paranoid he's going to get touched on the button. Like, if you remember Alistair Overeem prior to getting off PEDs, dude had an indestructible chin. Once he got off PEDs, his chin was gone. And he would be running for his life in fights because he knew, I got a massive off button on my chin. Dom Reyes can't inflict, damage and pressure and use his athletic ability because he's too worried. Oh, I got to protect my chin. I got to protect my chin. And ultimately he's going to get touched on that chin. When you're in a 15-minute fight, you're bound to get clipped on the chin at least once. And I don't think Dominic Reyes' chin can hold up. So I'm going to pick Dustin Jacoby. to get it done. I'm going to say first round KO. Look, a tumbleweed blows the wrong way, Dominic Reyes is going out, okay? Dominic Reyes, his wife, kisses him on the chin every night, puts him to sleep. I feel bad saying that, but it's just the truth. He has a massive off button right on his chin. Dustin Jacoby's a really good kickboxer. Dominic Reyes, where's his confidence at? His confidence is non-existent. He showed up for work for 4 years straight and not got the job done. Is he going to be able to find a win? I would love to see him find a win. I would love to be wrong about this prediction, but I don't think I'm going to be. I'm picking Dustin Jacoby to go out there. Dom Reyes is going to look all right to start off, look athletic, moving well, protecting his chin well. Then boom, perfect right hand, clips Dom Reyes right on the chin, gets put to sleep. Dude got put to sleep by a jab against Ryan Spann, who's an absolute scrub. So I don't think it'll be very much different against Dustin Jacoby. I'm going Dustin Jacoby to get it done via first round KO. Moving up on the card to the main event, we have Jarrett Cannonier versus Nasruddin Imavov. I struggle with this pick, and I'm still struggling with this pick, and I may switch my pick. I haven't really locked in my pick just yet. This is a very tough fight to pick. Jarrett Cannonier's 40 years old, coming off a destruction of Marvin Vettori, but Marvin Vettori looked good in that first round, even hurt Jarrett Cannonier. Even looked to kind of start a finishing sequence a little bit. And then you look at Jarrett Cannonier, at 40 years old, he's just bound to fall off a cliff. Before that split decision against Strickland where he didn't look super impressive, but I thought he won the fight. Before that lost to Israel Adesanya, he just couldn't pull the trigger. Before that beat Derek Brunson, but was getting out-grappled early by Derek Brunson. Before that beat Kelvin Gastelum. Then you have Nasruddin. He's beaten Roman Dolidze, but Roman Dolidze isn't good. Almost had the finish, but there was like the grounded hand rule where, Herb Dean ended up giving Roman Dolidze some time off there. Before that, he was beating Chris Curtis, and there was a head clash where it ended up being a no contest. Before that, lost to Sean Strickland. But a lot of people don't take into account, they talk about, Sean Strickland came in on short notice. Nasruddin Imavov went from Kelvin Gastelum to Sean Strickland on 2 weeks notice? That's a massive stylistic change, especially for a crafty guy like Sean Strickland. So, I think you can only take so much for that. And I think Imavov had a decent performance there. I picked Strickland to beat Imavov, even though people are like, you don't pick Strickland because you don't like him. I picked him to beat Imavov. Then before that, beat up Joaquin Buckley, which has aged quite well. Beat up Edmund Shabazian, which was decent. Look, this is one of those fights that could go either way. I know the argument for Cannonier. The argument for Cannonier is the cardio. I went back and was watching him in the 5th round against Marvin Vettori. It's crazy that he still was looking pretty fresh, considering the onslaught that he put on Marvin Vettori, but he couldn't put him away. He's now taken a long layoff, almost a year layoff. He's coming back from an injury. I don't remember exactly what the injury is. He's 40 years old. And he's fighting up-and-coming Nassourdine Imavov, who's 28 years old, I think getting better with every fight. The last fight went 5 rounds with Roman Dolidze. Looked okay in the 5th round. Had a high output in that fight. Before that, okay, the Chris Curtis fight. But before that, went 5 rounds with Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland won, clearly, but went 5 rounds. Sean Strickland didn't completely be able to gas out Imavov, and maybe that's because Strickland wasn't completely ready. But I'm looking at Imavov going 5 rounds and looking decent. I think Imavov's quicker on the feet. I think he's a little bit better striker than Jared Cannonier. Cannonier definitely has the power advantage. I think Imavov can mix in the grappling. I don't think he's going to have massive success with the grappling. But 28 years old versus 40 years old, I'm going Nassourdine Imavov to get it done. The argument for Cannonier is that Imavov looks good early and then Cannonier pours it on him late and Imavov gets tired, which I could see very well happening. If I was picking Cannonier, I would pick him 3-2, 48-47 decision, winning 2, 3, and 4. That's what I would pick. But ultimately, I'm going to pick Imavov. I think he's gone 5 rounds. I think he's prepared for this fight. I think Cannonier, long layoff, coming back from an injury at 40 years old. I'm going Nassourdine Imavov to get it done. I think he'll be a little bit slicker on the feet. I think he'll land good combinations. I think he'll be very weary of Jared Cannonier's power. And because of the arena they're in, I believe they're in the full-size cage, which I think is an advantage to Imavov because not only can Imavov use his footwork, also, Jared Cannonier is not going to be able to pressure him up against the fence as easily and land those big power shots, which I think he relies on a little bit too much. I see Cannonier chopping the legs, but I think Imavov is going to be able to get it done. I'm picking him to win. I think it's going to be a hard-fought, close fight. I'm going to pick Nassourdine Imavov, 48-47 decision, winning the first 3 rounds, losing the last 2 rounds, but the last 2 rounds will be close. It's not like Jared Cannonier will be blowing him out of the water. I don't think Marvin Vettori is that good. And while Jared Cannonier did destroy him, Marvin Vettori's landing on him early and hurting him early. Eventually, there's going to be that fall off. I talk about it all the time. We have to appreciate these guys in that special moment in time because like that, it's gone. I think this is going to be one of those fights where Jared Cannonier's downslide starts to begin. So I'm going Nassourdine Imavov to eke out a decision 48-47 over Jared Cannonier. Let me know what you guys think of my predictions down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.